Coming up on the April 21st edition of Sports Extra, new developments in the Mary Willingham saga. Provost Dean speaks while Willingham and Chancellor Folt meet.
When Shirley Bassey said diamonds are forever, she didn't know about Diamond DeShields. The UNC All-Star is transferring. We'll discuss where she'll land and what it means for the women's basketball team.
ACC Championships in track and field were this weekend in Chapel Hill. It all came down to the last race. Were the heels able to come out on top? All that and more. Sports Extra starts
right now.
From the University of North Carolina School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering the full range of Tar Heel athletics, this is Sports Extra.
Thousands of students are back after relaxing during the long weekend, while many of our athletes were in action. Time stops for no man or no Tar Heel. Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm Paige Comparato.
And I'm Kate Eastman. It was a busy week for Carolina with departures, championships, and a big mess to clean up. First, let's return to a familiar storyline. Who is the biggest name in Tar Heel athletics this year? Ryan Switzer, Marcus Page? Maybe it's Mary Willingham. Mary Willingham entered South Building to meet with Chancellor Folt this morning. Last week, she met with Kenneth Wainstein, the attorney leading the university's investigation. Willingham is the reading specialist who collected data between 2004 and 2012 and concluded that 40 to 60% of revenue sport athletes in her sample read at or below an 8th grade level. Those findings have fueled the current controversy. Mary Willingham is live in our satellite studio with reporter Susanna Black. Susanna?
Thanks, Kate. So, Mary, you've been saying over and over that you and the university have irreconcilable differences, and now you're leaving. Why now?
Well, I promised students, the students that I work with, and a grad student that I've been working with for a number of semesters, that I would stay till the end of the semester. And tomorrow is my last class. This message was maybe a little bit premature this afternoon, but I hope my students still come to class tomorrow night. Please do. But it's time. I have some other work ahead of me and some really important work to do.
So you met with the chancellor for the first time today. Was that an influence on your decision, or was your mind already made?
I think I was pretty much ready to move on. It's really hard to do because I love this place. The students are amazing. All of you have been so amazing this last year with me, helping me with this story, get the story out. The chancellor did help me realize that it was definitely the administration's difference. We have these differences about what happened and what's happened over the past couple years and what I was able to bring to light. She did say that I've polarized the community here, and I don't really feel like in the academic world we should be allowed to polarize. But because this is sports and there's fans and fanatics, it's become a character attack, a character assassination, and we're focused on everything but the real issues. It's time for me to help her to focus on the future of this university, and I need to go and focus on this issue in the national level.
So did you discuss anything in the meeting that you felt would make progress?
Yes, she was good about asking for the questions that I had of her. And I did have some questions about some of the students that I worked with in the past. Where are they? Should they come back to get a real education? What are they doing? She expressed the need to look at all students in the same way, and I expressed my opinion that these particular students who entertain us on game day, our profit sport athletes, are indeed a different cohort of students that we have here, and we certainly don't give them enough respect, and we don't give them a real education.
Okay, Mary Willingham, thank you so much for your time. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Susanna. That was Susanna Black live with Mary Willingham. We made numerous attempts to schedule an interview with Chancellor Folt following the meeting, but a representative of university PR told us the chancellor would have no media availability today. One of those administrators is Provost Jim Dean. He was also unavailable today, but did speak on camera with one of our reporters last week about Willingham's findings.
It was pretty clear to us from our analysis of the data that the claims were in fact based on the SATA results. And when I say SATA, I mean the SATA test. You could get from the data in the SATA spreadsheet if you analyzed it the way that she did to get to her claims. As the experts have determined, the way that she analyzed it wasn't the right way to analyze it. But so that convinced us that she was in fact using primarily, if not exclusively, SATA data, which is funny to say, to get to the claims. The other thing is that the College Board that administers the SAT test has never said that you can get from SAT verbal exams to reading scores. There's really no way to do it. So we knew that in advance and didn't see any point in including that data.
Perhaps SAT scores don't translate into reading grade level, but surely those scores do represent something. We looked into SAT scores and found some very interesting comparisons, which we presented last week. To reiterate our findings from a press release the university sent out in January, we know that 39 athletes scored below 400 on the verbal section of the SAT during this time period. Director of Admissions Stephen Farmer then pointed us to UNC's annually published fact books. After some digging, we found that between 2004 and 2012, 43 students who scored below 900 on math and verbal combined were admitted to UNC. We don't know how many of those were student athletes. A 900 is 400 points below the average of 1298 from all UNC admits in those years. A score of 800 is 500 points below the average. 500 points. In the past 2 weeks, we've made numerous unsuccessful attempts to get university officials to speak about these numbers. The UNC women's basketball team is still reeling from the news that National Freshman Player of the Year, Diamond DeShields, decided to transfer from the University of North Carolina. Basketball analyst Ben Walsh joins us now. Ben, what's going on?
Well, we're all just as confused as you are, Paige. When I saw the news, I couldn't quite believe it. But then Sylvia Hatchell came out on Thursday and confirmed the worst. In a statement to the press, Coach Sylvia Hatchell said, I do not know or understand why Diamond DeShields had decided to leave the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. As most everyone knows, I was out and missed the entire season of leukemia. Thankfully, I'm in complete remission and we'll be back 100% for next season. It breaks my heart that I will not have the opportunity to coach Diamond and help her develop her on and off the court. I love her and wish her well.
So we know she's leaving, but do we know where she's likely to go?
There's been no confirmed news as of yet. There's 3 schools I think she has an eye on. That's Tennessee, UConn, and South Carolina. DeShields expressed interest in Tennessee when she was still in high school, and I'm also ran track at Tennessee, so there might be family ties drawing her there. UConn would offer her a bigger stage than Caroline did, which is believed to be very important to DeShields. And finally, #1 prospect Ahia Wilson announced on Wednesday that she's committing to South Carolina. DeShields news came out the very next day, and Diamond's going to be close friends with Wilson, and who knows, this may weigh into a decision on where she goes.
Well, we've definitely looked at DeShields' future, but what about the future of the Tar Heels?
I'm not going to lie to you, Paige, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look terrible, but does not look good. With DeShields, UNC was ranked 2nd in the preseason rankings. With the departure, UNC dropped 6 places to 8th. And in women's college basketball, there are typically 1 or 2 or 3 teams that realistically have a shot to win the national championship. With DeShields leaving, that seriously hurts Carolina's chances of being one of those top teams.
Well, it certainly does not look good, but you also have to feel very bad for Coach Hatchell.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ben, for joining us.
No problem.
The Carolina baseball team isn't playing up to recent standards, but did avoid a sweep at UVA this weekend by winning Sunday's game 4-2. The Heels' overall record is now 23-17.
A slow start had Carolina in a hole for much of the ACC Championships.
Would a late surge grab them first place? Next on Sports Extra.
Connect with us online by liking the Sports Extra Facebook page and following us on Twitter @SportsExtra_UNC.
To Maddie, congrats on paying off all those student loans.
Finally, right?
How'd you manage that anyway?
I started tracking my spending, changed a couple of habits.
Wow, I'm kind of living paycheck to paycheck right now. I don't even know how I'm doing it.
Well, have you tried saving a little?
I want to, but where's that money gonna come from? Bill collectors, they're the worst. Am I right?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
Not home.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Kids will spend 8 minutes decorating their little brother.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
It's now been a year since the Boston Marathon bombings killed 3 people and injured 264 others standing by the finish line. Earlier today, more than 36,000 runners towed the line for the 26.2-mile race, the second largest field in the race's 118-year history. Among the runners are 2 of our very own UNC professors. Kylie McCoy brings us the story.
It wasn't the first time these UNC professors ran a marathon. In fact, Professor of Statistics Richard Miller ran his 51st marathon this morning. Miller has been working with marathon officials for nearly a year.
About a week after the race, I got an email from the Boston Marathon organizers, and it basically said, well, we're trying to figure out a way to provide finish times for all the runners who didn't finish the race. And can you help us with this?
Smith said it was important for him to help the Boston Marathon organizers, but it was even more important for him to participate in the run this year.
I think we all felt it was important to support the Boston Marathon. That's partly why so many people want to go back and run it this year. So I think when we had an opportunity to contribute to that, we naturally accepted right away.
Professor of Medicine Peter Leone ran his 4th Boston Marathon last year. Leone said he crossed the finish line just 40 minutes before the bombs exploded.
It was devastating. That event and that day is about community. And then being a physician, I felt rather helpless because here I am, safe.
Although Leone felt powerless at the time, he said it motivated him to return to this year's marathon with a different purpose.
I knew I wanted to go back. I knew I had to do it for the folks that died, for the folks that were injured, for the Boston community, and for myself and my kids to make a statement that I wasn't going to back down from terrorists, and I wasn't going to let them take away our freedoms in a statement.
And Leone said running a fast time isn't the only thing that's going to be on his mind during the race.
I still, at times, will tear up thinking about it, and I envision that last 0.2 of a mile when you make the turn and you come down Boylston and you see the finish line and the stands, and it's going to be like nothing else, because this is not about me. There's something almost transcendent this year about the event.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Kylie McCoy reporting.
Our Kylie McCoy joins us live from Stallings Evans Sports Medicine Center to talk with an athletics trainer who was at the finish line last year. Kylie?
Thanks, Kate. I'm here with Nina Walker, the head athletic trainer for the UNC cross country team at UNC. Last year, Nina was standing at the finish line when the bombs exploded. Nina, what exactly was it that you experienced last year at the Boston Marathon?
I think it was a lot of chaos. I mean, we were about 100 feet away from the second bomb, and so at that point, people were running all over the place. We got hit by the second bomb, and it was just a massive chaos.
Mm-hmm. Now, being an athletic trainer here at UNC, was there any way that you could help or assist in the injured?
It was kind of an interesting feeling, because I think at that point, we were more of the people that were getting helped. Into the restaurant, the SWAT team was there, and they were assisting us. So luckily, there weren't people that were badly injured right next to me. So it was definitely the tables had turned that day.
Mm-hmm. Now, an interesting fact is that this year, more people participated in the Boston Marathon than ever before. Second largest Boston Marathon, 36,000 people. Why do you think that is?
I think a lot has to do with the fact that a lot of individuals didn't get to finish the marathon last year, and they were given their bib numbers back. So individuals wanted to be a part of this really special day, especially with all the meaning that's behind it for all those that aren't able to run it this year.
Now, do you plan to return next year at all?
I don't know. We used it as a celebration of one of my friend's life. We raised some money for a cancer foundation, and can continue with that tradition, but for right now, I think I'm going to be here in Chapel Hill.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, we're glad to have you here today. Thank you so much. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Kylie. That was Kylie McCoy live from the Stallings Evans Sports Medicine Center. UNC alum Shalane Flanagan finished 7th on the women's side today.
They weren't in Boston, but the track and field teams did run at home this weekend as the Tar Heels hosted the ACC Championships. Carolina wasn't in great shape entering the final day of competition as the men's team sat in 4th place with just 23 points. The UNC sprinters and hurdlers refused to roll over. RJ Alawanle defended his title as ACC champion in the 400 hurdles and earned a gold medal. Teammate Javante Lipsy finished 2nd, bringing the Tar Heels back into contention. With the men's team trailing leaders Florida State by just 7 points heading into the final event, the 4x4 relay team got a huge boost from Lipsy as he kicked another gear and left both the FSU and Pittsburgh runners in the dust. CO Ways, running the anchor leg, willed himself across the finish line. And check out this photo finish, edging out Pitt by just 0.05 of a second and capping an 87-point day for the men's team. 3 other athletes also made it to the podium. Zen Yaran took 2nd in the women's heptathlon in her first season in Carolina Blue. Houston Summers took silver in the men's javelin, and Roy Smith earned bronze in the 110 hurdles. Oh yeah, and CO Ways took silver in both the 200 and the 400-meter races, just a couple of hours before running his 4x4. The dominant performances Saturday weren't enough for UNC to capture the conference title. FSU barely came away with the win, scoring 113 points to Carolina's 110. It was the highest score by the Tar Heel men since they were ACC champions in 1999. The Seminoles also captured the women's title, scoring 111 points, and the women placed 8th with 55 points. The men's lacrosse team had a slow start in Friday's game against High Point, but the Heels managed to pull out a 12-8 win. Kieran Burke made 13 saves in the game against the Panthers. Carolina didn't qualify for the ACC tournament, but the Heels will be playing in an ACC showcase against Virginia on Saturday.
After a painful loss against Duke in overtime last week, the women's lacrosse team ripped through Towson on Saturday. The Heels grabbed a 17-8 victory against the Tigers with a competitive first half. Carolina was up only 7-4, but the Tar Heels showed no mercy in the second. Carolina scored 3 straight times in the half and didn't look back. UNC never gave up the lead in the team's second game ever in Kenan Stadium. It was senior day for 6 Tar Heels, making their final regular season home appearances. With this victory, the Tar Heels wrapped up the regular season and improved to 13-3. Coach Jenny Levy said it was good for the team to bounce back from the tough loss.
We try not to focus on results, but more focus on how we want to play. And I think, once that got going, we got into the fabric of the game. It really freed our kids up to play.
Carolina will take on Boston College in Chestnut Hill on Thursday for the first day of the ACC tournament.
After big games, spectators tend to leave a big old mess.
We look at how the university cleans up.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them. Beat them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad
One more
today.
time. All those boys are much too much. Those boys.
You wanted to be a teacher when you were little, but things changed. Teaching didn't seem that cool anymore, so you decided to become something else. But what would your 12-year-old self say? Amazing things are happening in teaching, so it's time to put it back on your list. Don't try to convince yourself otherwise. You had it right the first time.
Thank you, dear. Well, you're very supple. Just like I was at your age. Back then, I was a sex expert. Used to call me the buttered biscuit. I know about birth control, too. So you can ask me anything, baby.
Bedsider.org has birth control information and a lot more. And it's...
Have you had sex in this car yet?
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
UNC is known for drawing in big crowds during athletic events like women's basketball games in Carmichael Arena. When the games are over and fans return home, the work for others is just beginning. AJ Nwoko has the story.
It's trash, and even more trash. Leftover popcorn boxes, half-eaten pizzas, soda spills, and despite all the food, you wouldn't want to eat off these floors. What's the cause of all the rubbish in the arena? Facility Director of Carmichael Arena, Stacey Harris.
With college students, I think a lot of it depends on the atmosphere of the game. If they're really excited and into it, they're going to tend to leave more trash.
And that can take a while to clean up.
It takes a couple of hours. I would say about 2 hours after for a medium-sized crowd, maybe 3 hours for a large crowd.
Harris thinks students just need a little encouragement to put the trash where it belongs.
We've asked them, hey, pick up your stuff, please, and they'll do it. But, I think they just have to be asked.
But is that really what it would take?
If there are trash cans easily available within sight of my seat, then I'll throw it away myself. Typically, I do not.
I don't like doing that. It's mean to Mother Earth.
A likely story, but you wouldn't believe it from looking at Carmichael, Boschmer Stadium, Henry Stadium, or even Kenan Stadium.
Here in Kenan Stadium, one guy like me throwing down one piece of trash like this may not seem like a big deal. But multiply that out by a stadium that's supposed to seat thousands, and you've got yourself a big mess.
Despite the litter in Kenan, Carmichael, or any of the other sporting venues, Harris offers one simple solution for students.
Just be a little more responsible and keep up with your trash, and if you see something, pick it up.
In this case, a little bit goes a long way. In Chapel Hill, I'm AJ Nwoko reporting.
Remember, Tar Heels, as the ad campaign used to say, every litter bit hurts.
After nearly upsetting number 6 Alabama on Friday night, the women's softball team was poised for revenge in a repeat matchup Saturday. But as Carolina took the field, the team faced a tide much stronger than the one from Tuscaloosa. Pouring rain pushed the game back, and then officials decided to cancel it altogether. Georgia Southern was slated next on the schedule for 3:30, but with the Alabama cancellation, UNC changed the matchup to a doubleheader. The Heels were ready to go, but once again, officials ruled that the field wasn't and canceled all games for the day. Despite the gloomy weather, though, Carolina was all smiles. The team's next challenge is Boston College on Wednesday, an ACC doubleheader series the Tar Heels actually hope to complete.
The men's soccer team just wrapped up its spring season, scrimmaging against a number of familiar opponents, and none more familiar than the goalie of the Carolina Railhawks. Catherine Fitzgerald has the story.
Scott Goodwin is used to players in Carolina blue uniforms shooting on him, but during practice, not at a game. An alum of the UNC program, Goodwin was traded to the Carolina Railhawks last winter. When the Railhawks and the Tar Heels met up for a scrimmage, Goodwin was head-to-head against his former team.
It's going to be a little bit strange wearing the different colors, but at the end of the day, it was just some of my best friends, some of the best 4 years of my life, so it was really good playing against them.
During those 4 years, Goodwin set the single-season record for shutouts and led the Heels to an NCAA title during his junior campaign. For head coach Carlos Samuano, seeing players compete at the next level is a reward.
I think that the best way to describe that is, it's almost like watching your children grow up and you just feel proud.
You can also still see traces of Goodwin here at Carolina through the development of redshirt junior Brendan Moore. After training under Goodwin for 3 years, Moore stepped up to be the Heels' starting goalie for the 2013 season. A key part of this transition was learning to be more vocal.
Scott does that tremendously every day, so I definitely learned that aspect of communication from him.
Moore's goals against average was good for best in the ACC, and he was recognized with the Tom Evans Jr. Most Improved Player Award, an award given to Goodwin in 2010. And if Moore is to keep following in Goodwin's footsteps, his next goal will be taking the Heels back to the College Cup. In Chapel Hill, I'm Catherine Fitzgerald reporting.
The Heels are done until fall semester, when they'll be back on the pitch chasing another national title.
With the academic year coming to a close,
we talk to athletes about why they love their university. Next on Sports Extra.
Don't forget to tune into our sister shows, Carolina Week at 5 p.m. every Wednesday on Time Warner 24 or Campus Channel 34, and Carolina Connection at 8:30 every Saturday morning on WCHL 97.9 FM.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
Used to call me the buttered biscuit. Back then I was a sex expert. I know about birth control too.
Bedsider.org has birth control information and a lot more. And it's...
Have you had sex in this car yet?
Teachers today are finding new ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable.
Enroll, we say, we want you to be okay. Enroll, we say, take care, people, for goodness sake.
UNC's favorite son, Charles Kuralt, said it's not the well or the bell that makes Carolina special. It's that it's the University of the People. Graduating senior Casey Barnes takes a nostalgic look at this special place.
In my mind, I'm going to Carolina. Can't you see the sunshine? Can't you just feel the moonshine?
As another year comes to a close and graduation looms, the sights of spring remind us just how beautiful UNC can be. At this time of year, many students begin to reevaluate what Carolina truly means to them. From the familiar chime of the bell tower to the iconic image of the old well. There's just so much to love about this place that it's nearly impossible to choose just one favorite thing. But that's exactly what we asked a few student athletes to do.
I'd have to say the quad in the spring, just all the trees blooming and the leaves coming back, it just kind of breathes right into summer.
The reasons we love UNC might differ, but there's one thing we can all agree about. There's no better place to be.
My favorite thing about UNC is the athletic culture surrounding the university, and the people here are just so welcoming and great.
How Carolina laces itself so deeply into our hearts is unclear, but somehow, by the end of this journey, we all find that no words hold more truth. Once a Tar Heel, forever a Tar Heel. In Chapel Hill, I'm Casey Bennett reporting.
Well, that does it for this edition of Sports Extra.
This is our last live show of the year, so we'd like to thank all of our seniors: Madison Way, Ryan O'Rourke, Ben Walsh, Delia D'Ambra, Ali Massione, Evan Badler, Elizabeth Ayers, Ignacio Iterate, Catherine Fitzgerald, Casey Barnes, Brian France, and Paige Comparato.
Thanks for watching and have a great night.